Hey, welcome back to another video. My name is Cara Michelle and I am here to help you live your truth. So on today's video, I want to talk a little bit about perception and how it is very difficult for you to change someone else's perception, and therefore why it's important to realize that nobody else's opinion matters but your own. So when it comes to perception, it's really something that becomes our reality. It rules our lives. And from a science standpoint, this has to do with the fact that the brain has something called an RAS, or some people call it a RAS, but it's your reticular activating system. And what it does is, if you think something, we'll just play with a simple example that I've used in other videos before. If you think I'm not good enough, your reticular activating system actually looks in the outer world for things that reflect that, because it believes that to be true, and so it's actually going to send out signals. So now you go to work, you're having a conversation, and a coworker makes a weird look. They're probably just doing it. Like, they could just be doing it for no reason. Maybe they didn't even realize they did it, but your RAS is going to be looking at that and going, oh my God, they're judging me. They think I'm not good enough. It's because of what I just said. I'm so stupid. Why did I open my mouth? Why am I here? I don't belong here. And all of a sudden you start going into this downward spiral, which is where a lot of people get really stuck. And it's this really deep place of insecurity and anxiety and doubt. So that is how your RAS works, and that is how your perception then becomes your reality, because whatever you're perceiving in life, now something else happens throughout the day, a few other things go on, you're just continuing to pick up that belief and create it as your reality, believe it to be true. So when this comes to other people and this whole people pleasing that I talked about in a recent video, and needing to have their approval or making sure they see us in a certain light, the truth of the matter is that we have zero control over how anyone else sees us, because we can't control their perception, and we can't control their own limiting beliefs and their own experiences and their upbringing that made them who they are today. So if they have, which everyone has these, so this is where awareness comes in, and you'll hear me talk about that a lot as well, but where whatever they perceived growing up, and they became it became a strong neural network in their brain, a repetitive thought pattern, that then it's literally like taking the train, and it goes back and forth. The more and more you do it, I guess trains don't get stronger, but the neural networks do. So those pathways are being reinforced and getting stronger and stronger. So that was a horrible example. Please forgive me. So when you are trying to people please, or you're hoping to make sure you show up in a certain light, and you really want people to approve of you and see you for who you truly are, the real fact of the matter is that you have no control over that, because everything that creates their perception is based on what they saw growing up, what they continued to reinforce and believe, and how they perceive the world. So when you look at it this way, you realize that it really doesn't come down to you. It's not about you being good enough, because their standards and their perceptions and beliefs are going to be so completely different than yours, and you cannot influence or change that by any means. All you can do is be your best self, love yourself, be proud of who you are, and take that energy with you each day. If you try to influence people's perceptions, and you're desperate for that approval, you'll spend the rest of your life searching, because you're always going to be looking externally and projecting that way. And when people do something like that example before, where they make a look, or they make a little comment, or they bail on something, or make you feel smaller than you are, any of those things, you're going to receive it as a reflection of you, and that is going to influence how you see yourself and how you perceive yourself. But really, screw them. It doesn't matter what they do or think or say or believe, because it is based on their own perceptions. And especially when it comes to what you feel you need to do in life, there's so much pressure and external forces involved of telling us who we need to be, how we need to show up, what we need to do. But those people are only telling you what they know from their perception and what they believe to be true in the world. And this is a huge, huge issue when it comes to money and financial success, because, and also with relationships. So let's look at both of those as really good examples. So when it comes to money, if your parents grew up seeing struggle, famine, or whatever, like, they are going to have these perceptions around what is possible. If they saw that it was really hard to have success, to start a business, to make things work, that's what they've believed. And their RAS started to pick up on that. Any single sign that could match that, it reinforced that belief, made it stronger. So now when you're starting, say you're trying to start something new and pursue something different or take a different avenue in life, and they're projecting their perception on you, saying like, don't do that, it's gonna fail, it's really hard, like whatever, you can't make money doing that. They're just sharing their perception, but it's very limited. So whereas we have the option to create a new perception and a new reality, which is to work on those limiting beliefs, to dive into them and see what is actually true and let go of what isn't, and start to believe in ourselves and our capabilities. And same thing with that one, if your parents always said things about like, it's so hard to make money, and where money's a struggle, and like we'll never have X amount of dollars, you probably have a lot of beliefs around getting to that money, that amount of money, and feeling like you're never going to do it, because it's ingrained in your perspective and your perception from hearing it all the time and seeing it and it being reinforced. So the example with relationships is we all hear people who say like, oh, there's no good men out there, or like there's no good women out there. They're like, I'll never find someone who's right for me. Well, if you believe that enough and you say or think that enough, all you're noticing in the world is the people who don't, or the people who match that, the proof of that, like the people who kind of don't show interest in you, or who turn you down, or anything like that. You're only picking up on that, and they're continuing to reinforce that. So your perception is totally limiting who you show up as. And example again, if you saw that in your parents and they said those things, you would have likely grown up believing that as well, and creating those limiting beliefs and perspectives around what's possible for you. And that could be keeping you very stuck right now. So let me know in the comments down below if you've ever thought any of these things or felt that way, and if this makes sense to you about how it really does influence what shows up in your life just because of what you believe in and what you look for. So what's really important to realize is that it comes from, a lot of this gets ingrained into the subconscious, and it comes from subconscious reprogramming that's going to actually get you out of that place so you can create new beliefs. Because everything I've just talked about is practiced, it's learned behavior. This is what you perceived and saw and learned and started to do as a child, and that is why it became so strong, because we're really receptive as children, and that's when our brains are forming and everything, and our subconscious is forming up until the age of 7. So we're just like absorbing everything like a sponge, everything we see, hear, and experience, and that becomes our perception. Then we spend all this time with our parents, maybe our grandparents and extended family, and they project certain things from their experience and what they believe. And they tell you things are hard, or they're grumbling about what a hard day at work it was, or how so-and-so got fired and times are tough. That becomes more of that sponge. You're absorbing even more into your brain that is very negative and limiting. And so then all of a sudden you're in your teens or your early adulthood, and you're walking around carrying so much, and it's just weighing you down, making you feel like you're not good enough, like the world is this bad place, nothing's possible, and you're continuing to see that outside of you. All you're picking up on, all your brain is picking up on, is the signs and the reminders that that is true. So it's just weighing you down more and more. And like I said, this is very deeply rooted in the subconscious, so doing work that way is something that's very beneficial for you. But also the number one tip I say for people who I work with is to start with awareness and start by catching your thoughts. Becoming aware of what kind of things you're thinking, how limiting they are, how fear-based they are, how much self-doubt and insecurity and negativity you are putting on yourself and the world around you. Because that's once you realize, because once you realize and you have awareness, that's when you can start to make change. So that is what I want to leave you with on this video. And if you are someone who wants more help with that, I have a free training that dives into this a lot more. It's down in the description box below. It's all about reprogramming your mind for success, understanding what is limiting you and blocking you, and it's mostly focused on anxiety, limiting beliefs, and past struggles, and how those are keeping you from living out your dreams, living out your best life right now. So you can check out that training. It's amazing. I'm sharing way more on that training than I did on here, but I hope that gave you a good overview and showed you not only how your own perception is and what it's creating for you, but also to understand that you can't change other people's perceptions. You can try and you can educate, like I'm doing right now. Perhaps I'm changing people's perceptions a little bit because now they're learning something new, they're seeing it in a new way, maybe a light bulb goes off, and so they are going to be able to work on their perceptions and make a change. But people who aren't doing the work and aren't willing to change, you can't ever influence their perception. You could argue with them till your last breath, but if they don't want to see things differently, they're not going to. And if they want to continue to see from what they believe is true and what they believe is real, that's what they will see. So don't fight those battles. Don't worry about everyone else's approval and opinion. Focus on your own and focus on changing your own perception of yourself and your life so that you can see the world in a new way and be unbothered by the negative perceptions that other people have. So I hope that was helpful. Again, check out the comments or check out the link in the description for the free training. Please comment if you have any questions, if you've noticed this in your own life, and I'll see you in the next video.